All right, welcome to the Masterminds podcast with James Allen. He is I and I am him. And today we are with the one and only. No, let me back up. Let me give you your proper due here. You know what I'm saying? This guy is owner of Park Street Homes, established in 2017. All right. And he's also co-creator of Grand Park Square Development in Houston, Texas. He's also the 2021 GHBC Pinnacle Awards winner. Him and wifey, shout out to them. Congrats to that. He's appeared in multiple publications. I'm not even going to name them all here. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I did my homework. And, more than that, most importantly, he is a husband, father, son, all around family man. Let's hear it for Kevan Shelton. What up, family?
I thought we'd hear the applause.
I gotta work on this soundboard. I'm getting there. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. That was a great intro. You look like you've been doing this for 20 years. Like you gave me a whole rundown. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I'm so glad and excited for you to be here.
It's funny. I'm no longer the one and only though. I got a little mini me running around there like you. So
shout out to baby Kev. Yeah, that if y'all haven't seen
I
him
gave
yet.
up my one and only status.
Exactly. My apologies to baby Kev. I don't mean to disrespect him because that kid is at minimum going to be in all publications soon with Modelist how he is. So shout out to baby Kev, man. And before we start, before I hopped on here, like it really hit me. You are like high key a Houston celebrity.
No.
Yes.
In no way. In absolutely no way.
Yes. And that's, for example, so we went to a networking event. I don't know, probably like around, top of the year.
Like a month ago.
Yeah, a month ago or so. Yeah. So we were out there. At first, I didn't even know you were going to be there because I was like, I got invited to this exclusive thing, blah, blah, blah. You're okay, cool, good for you. And you didn't say shit about it. It was like, all right, on to the next. So here comes your ass sauntering in through the door. And I'm like talking to these people and, people well-respected in the space. And I'm, pretty honored and, excited to have these conversations with them. And they're like, oh, excuse me, sorry. That's Kevan Shelton over there. I really been wanting to talk to him. So yeah, I really appreciate it if I'm gonna get back to him. I was like, Kevin? Because I think I take it for granted, the relationship you and your wife, that relationship that we've been able to build between our families, and me and my wife, we hang out quite often, but it doesn't really hit me the impact what you guys are doing here in the city and the things you have accomplished. So no, you guys are big time, and it's an honor and pleasure to have you on it. So
no, I'm like I told you when you asked me, anytime, man, anywhere you tell me to show up, I'm gonna show up for sure. And I appreciate the compliments, although celebrity we are not. But one of the things that I do is I go to work. So that's it. I think that folks just know me, that I can get the things that I say I'm gonna do done, and I'm happy with that. At the end of the day, if I just do what I say I'm gonna do, that works for me. So
facts, no argument there. The one thing you do show and exhibit every day, 24/7, is your work ethic. And that's something that's admired by me. Sometimes when we have those monthly lunches, I'm like, man, I'm tired. You're like, man, me too. Anyway, so I'm about to get up and do this. And I'm like, damn, all right. Well, Kev's on it. I can't let off the gas either. So no, iron sharpens iron. So I definitely appreciate that as well. So, what we doing today? What we talking about, man? Is it what's going on in your world over there?
So let me tell you a funny story. So we just came from closing a couple of construction loans with our partner Junius.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. We went to a luncheon, and this is a side note to what you just said about work ethic and even though we're tired, we got to keep working. So at this luncheon, this older white gentleman, he was telling the story about kind of his bootstrap beginnings, right? So he was like, man, I came from basically nothing. work my way up. I started off just being a construction manager for this guy, building apartments or whatever. And there's a couple of things that he said, and we laughed about it at the closing because Junius brought it up. So a couple of things he said that just it didn't fit in our box of bootstrapping, right? He said, hey, I would work so hard, I never even cashed my paycheck. I never even had time. So I had a stack of paychecks sitting on the passenger side of my truck that I hadn't even cashed. Now there's nobody that I know that don't need their paycheck. You know what I mean? So
Facts. Plus, them shits expire. So yeah,
yeah,
he
so
playing with fire over there.
so he's sitting there like, man, I worked so hard, I couldn't even cash my paychecks. Like, well, where I come from, every single paycheck we cashing it before it get here.
Facts.
So I'm cashing it on Wednesday for Friday. I'm hoping my bank give me the draft early so I can make sure I make my bills on Friday.
Talk
And
about
then
it.
he said, so eventually the developer he was working for gave him the opportunity to buy into a deal to become a partner, but he had to come up with $100,000 down. So he's like, man, I had no way of getting 100,000. I'm like, man, where am I going to get $100,000 from? He said, but I so happen to have $250,000 worth of Exxon stock that my grandmother gave me in this stock certificate. So I took that stock certificate and then I took it to a bank and they gave me $100,000 against it. And then I bought into the deal. And here we are, I'm, multi-millionaire later. I own 40, $50 million worth of apartments across the whole Southeast region of the country and whatever. And I was telling my partner, I said, can I borrow your boots? Because while you bootstrapping, I ain't got no boots over here. So the difference
Facts.
between them and us is we don't have anybody coming to save us. I don't happen to have $250,000 worth of stock from Exxon that my grandmother gave me. My grandmother didn't give me anything but good words and a hard work ethic and an example. You know what I mean?
Right.
My
Yeah.
grandfather was a postman. So
Yeah, we are definitely not starting at the same starting line in this race. So that makes your story that much more impressive from what you guys have built since 2017. And I was always wanting to ask you. So I know Park Street started in 2017, but what was there any activity within this space prior to, or was it all just kind of like in 1 year, getting your ducks in the row and then fire aim and go?
So Park Street actually, we rebranded our original company into Park Street in 2017.
Got you.
So there were several other iterations, right? So we actually got together in 2014, and we knew we wanted to invest in real estate, and it took us 2 years to really study real estate, understand it, get our beaks wet, meet some people. We hadn't done any deals. Now I've been in construction. This is my 16th year, but I'd never owned anything, not even my own house. So we had to get our ducks in a row in life before we could start investing or anything else.
No doubt.
So
And I'm sorry, just to interrupt you there, because I'm going to be scared to have dinner if we don't get this clear. So when you say we are talking about none other than the Miss Aisha Shelton. Shout out to Mrs. Shelton. I don't want any smoke, so I just want to get that clear. When he says we, that is who we were talking about. That is his partner in business and in life. And she's also amazing and incredible in her own right. So shout out there.
no, for sure. She's such a good partner that I'm married. I tell people all the time to say, I'm married. The only person I'm partnered with for life. Everybody else can go. This person is locked in. So,
For real, for real.
but no. So we got together in 2014. I was actually still in school. I had to graduate college. I graduated college. We got married. We bought a house. Started saving our money. I switched jobs several times, or not several times, but a couple of times. And then we started to build up. And the whole time we were doing that, we were learning real estate. So fast forward from 2014 to 2016, into 2015, early 2016, we started our first company, which was K&A Companies, right? Like this
Okay.
is Kevin and Aisha Companies.
Okay. I
So
like it.
we started kind of a property holding companies for our soon-to-be rentals and our soon-to-be flips. And we started off just trying to really grow income for our family. So it started off with one flip. or actually with one rental. So we had the house that she bought when she was 25. She built a house and she knew that was going to be a starter home. We turned that home into a rental. We took a HELOC out on that home. We bought our first flip at the same time that we were turning that house into a rental. I was using my credit, my capital to buy our first family house, our first house together, which we still live in now. And then we kind of did all that at the same time. So literally within a matter of months, we had built a new house, closed on it, turned our original house into a rental, got it leased up, took a HELOC out, bought our first flip. Midway into the first flip, we bought our second flip, which we ultimately turned into an Airbnb. And then we were off to the races. So we just kind of kept growing and growing and growing from there.
Awesome. Awesome. So you've just talked about multiple different investment strategies within the real estate space. We talked about Airbnb. We've talked about flips. We've talked about rentals. Where is Park Street at today? Because you guys, like, again, we've already established you guys have really kind of got the momentum and really not only made a brand, but an impact within the city and region. But I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks like you guys are just laser focused on that. But are there still these other investments that you're tapping into and doing?
No, not really. So kind of with that evolution, what we found is what our sweet spots were and what we weren't. And I always tell people to focus on your strengths. My strength was always building, right? So I'm a builder by trade. Like since I was 12 years old, I wanted to build things for the rest of my life. And even if I retired today, I'd build log cabins in like Colorado or something, right? So as we went through all these different investments, what we realized is, Airbnb is great, but, rentals are great. And in addition to, but, and, flips are great, but big but on the flips. And what we found is where we shined the most was new construction. So we rebranded Candid Companies to Park Street Development. That's when we were still kind of polishing off the remainder of the flips. And the ultimate evolution, kind of our final form of that, was Park Street Homes, which is just a new construction home builder. So we did all of that to come back to what we probably could have got away with starting with, which is just building new homes. And that's my original background.
Yeah, but it's not as fun that way. I mean, you definitely got to kind of go through those evolutions and take those bruises and those experiences, and it does help shape you. Kind of backing up. So, when you guys got started in 2015, 2016, what about this industry has changed? I mean, since you guys got in it, what can you really say is, any big differences, any big changes?
That's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Not much, honestly. It's funny. We went from very Dave Ramsey-ish when we got married to
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki-ish in our investor state. And what we found is you're always going to have changes in the market. There's always going to be opportunity, but it's always going to be through hardship. You know what I mean? And I think we've been very Napoleon Hillistic in our outlook. So it's like the opportunity is in front of you, not behind you. Many people try to time the market and they want to look and see, hey, what's hot right now? And what we found is if you take just what you're really good at and you get the best that you can at it and you build your business around that, the money will come, all the people will come to help support you in that vision. Everything will be provided for you, but you got to focus on what your strengths are, because the hard part is trying to do something that you're not suited for. You'll struggle in that. And even though you're going to struggle no matter what, it makes the struggle much easier when it's something that you enjoy doing and that you're good at versus struggling through something that you hate. That makes every day a grind. Like we work our butts off. You work your butt off. We work our butts off. But at the end of the day, it's so rewarding because it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like working out. I don't. I haven't.
We got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. Shout out to Kev. Yeah. He was with me on the 75 hard. We actually did that shit, completed it.
We did. And then lost every game that we got from it.
Bro.
But it's because of a lack of love, right? So if we can find something in that we can love, we can do it every day with no problem.
Yep.
And that's really where we shine in the home building front, because I would do this anyway, right? Like I would do this for free. I was walking job sites since I was a little boy, and I've loved it then, I love it now, and I love it still, and it doesn't change. So that doesn't hurt my feelings. Now, where we grow is how do you make your market work for you, right? So you asked about the changes in the market, and that's really the pivoting. So from back then to now, the market has changed, but the fundamentals of any market stay the same. You
Mhm.
have to pivot yourself based on whatever the market's doing with the core fundamentals that you have. And that's what we spent that 2 years learning, is like core fundamentals of core fundamentals. It's like playing basketball. If I know how to dribble, I know how to shoot, I know how to pass the ball, I'll generally be all right. Now I might learn some moves,
Right.
but if I know how to dribble, I know how to shoot, I know how to pass the ball. It don't matter who I'm playing with. I could be on an NBA court or I could be in the backyard. I know how to dribble, pass the ball, and shoot. And I think we've just focused on that. And as the markets change, the courts have changed. I just keep dribbling, and I pass the ball to her. She passed the ball back to me. Somebody gonna shoot. Somebody gonna take a shot. And we keep it basic.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Now, yeah, you very simply put, but yeah, a lot more difficult to execute. But no, I definitely appreciate that. Now, kind of going back a little bit. So we already talked about, that fatigue, that burnout, multiple times already, because that's how you and me like, man, god damn, it's only Tuesday. But yeah, how do you manage that? I mean, because you've got a lot going on. Park Street and what you guys have is essentially it's a machine. I don't like say that lightly. You guys have really have good systems in place and great people surrounding you. It is still like a grind 24/7. So like what do you do personally to deal with that and to keep going? I mean, because we just had a conversation. It was, Q1, and me and you both were like, "Ah, damn, it's like tapping out already." So yeah,
Mhm.
so what do you do personally for that?
Um, I'd say I try to find ways to, and I'm not good at this. I have to learn, and I'm becoming better at this. Find ways to check myself out of work so I don't get that same level of fatigue, right? And we've talked about this several times. So almost taking breaks.
Mm,
So like micro versions of work, right? So I work real hard for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then I'll take a break and go
mm,
clear my head. Because what I found is as we do more and more and more, our capacity to do more is less. You know what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
Like even mentally and emotionally. So I get burnt out real quick on a lot of complex stuff because now the levels, the risk, the everything is so much higher. So when we're just doing one project or we're just doing one thing, it's like, oh man, like I remember trying to get to that first deal was like everything. And now I'm like, okay, look, we got this in the pipeline and we got to worry about this and we got all these other things. So it's really easy to get like mental haze and fog. So you got to focus on one thing,
Mm,
do the work, check out. Focus on one thing, do the work, check out, and give yourself that those breaks repetitively because it's real easy for me to go to a job site and not sit at this desk. And I love going to a job site and I hate sitting at this desk.
right,
But my
right.
money's made at this desk. My money's not made at the job site. Right. And we do have great people surrounding us and we do have great people helping bring our projects to life. So it's now so much more about this for me than this.
Exactly,
And that's
exactly.
a hard thing because I
Yeah,
want to do this. I
right.
want to do this. But no, man, I mean, a bigger why. I got the fam, I got the legacy I want to do. Um, I want to see where the team takes the company. That's super, super exciting to me. I want that 30-year run. You know what I mean? Whatever that looks like. And I'd say this is the biggest thing that's helped me. And it's not necessarily the thing that keeps me going, but it's the biggest thing to help me is learning new information or getting really good advice and then taking it. That's it. I mean, that's not, and that sometimes can seem like it's a hamster wheel, but as you get new information, allowing yourself to change and pivot, because in Q1 we had a whole different conversation than we'll have when we go to lunch in Q2.
Right.
I mean, even from our last conversation, right? Like advice changes things, mentorship changes things. One of the
Let's
things I'm excited. Go ahead. Go ahead.
let's stay right there because you hit on a good topic. And for all the other business owners and entrepreneurs who might listen to this, mentorship is a very valuable thing to have. Through your entrepreneurship journey, you have been very good with finding those right connections and getting the good information, and knowing, not only that, knowing the right questions to ask. Like, how do you really get to, how do you do that? How do you go about that? I mean, are you just out there just having a conversation like, hey, will you mentor me? Or is it like, what is your approach to mentorship? Because you have a lot of influential people in your life.
So I can't take any credit for that, unfortunately. I'll say a lot of credit to that. This is to God, man. I'm not to get over preachy, but I
Talk
gotta
that
put it
talk
in
though.
this
Yeah,
corner. Like
absolutely.
he has put people in my life and around me that have really, including my wife. Right, my biggest mentor is probably my wife, because she has helped mold me into a different creation than I would have been otherwise.
Damn,
Right.
now you put me in a tough spot. Yeah, shout out to my wife too. She's been my
Go ahead.
mentor.
We know what
Nah,
it
no,
is.
no, no. I got home. Why ain't you say that like Kevin said that? So I want to. Hey, I got you, babe. Anyways, let's go. No, but I'm
But
sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
so and you talked about how to know the questions to ask. I asked all the questions, like point blank.
Mm,
I'm gonna ask
mm.
them all. Everything that I sit up at night with, I'm gonna bring it and say, "Hey, can you help me?" So it's really like a humbling experience, because a lot of times what I look for and what I want, I just want somebody to see the value in me that I'm seeing in myself, and that hopefully that I'm valuable. And that sounds, humbling and harsh, but you want people to favor you and to see you in a good light, to see themselves in you to some degree. And we do it. You know what I mean? You might see somebody on the street trying to do what you're trying to do, and you spend a little time. That's mentorship, right?
Mhm.
It's seeing that light in somebody else that you can pour into, and save them from maybe some of the things that you go to. So, literally, that's how it starts.
Man, you just hit on two like really, really great points. So the fact of humbling yourself when you're asking those questions, right? So especially as men, we tend to have that ego and that pride, and we'll just, there'll be a whole damn manual on what do we do when we open a box, throw away, and try to figure it out on our own, and what does that leave us? It just, the time wasted with doing that. So that's something that me personally I've worked on and really keyed in on these last few years through my business journey. The other one was just asking all the questions again, because especially in being new in the real estate investment space, when I came in, I wanted to come off like like I was very competent in every aspect, and that sometimes can hold you back as well, as opposed to like, hey, you don't know what you don't know, and ask the damn question. You know what I mean? And being open, because I've seen people who've done that in the past, and their acceleration in that particular industry or space is far more better. Just getting yourself out there, not being worried about what people think, is far more greater than someone who's just going to be siloed and saying, I'm not going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out on my own because I don't want to look or come off a certain way.
And let me be 100% transparent. I've
Mhm.
been in my own way a lot, right? Like I am hard headed. I am bullheaded.
You
When I
nah, come
feel
on.
like I'm right,
Yeah.
I stick to my points. I'm a fighter. So look, I'll square up with just about anybody, like all that. And
Yeah.
you have to start breaking those things down. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, me and my wife had a whole breakdown 2 days ago, 3 days ago, about a call we had a month ago. And in that month, in that call, although it was a valuable call that I should have learned something from. I was holding on to my ego. And she was checking me about that. And the thing about that is, at the time we had that call, and even when we had the argument a couple of days on Sunday or whatever, I was like, nah, bro, I was right, blah, blah, blah. I had my points. And I can have my point and still get the value from it if I humble myself. And that's it's just hard. Like, oh, it's a hard thing. And even now I feel it in my spirit. I'm like, oh, it's hard. But the ego stands in your way. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times, especially like you touched on being a man, the ego can stand in your way. And the reality of the situation is, even when we know, that doesn't mean we can't get better. And even things that we might have 99%. There's somebody out there who might just have 1% that can fill in a gap for us. Absolutely. So the reality of the situation is, we just got to be open to it. And I'm learning that's an evolution every day. I got to get better at that every single day. For the first time, I'm getting coaching in my business because I do want to take it to the next level. So, I enrolled in the coaching program. I'll be starting that soon. I want to get better at being the best that I can be. And there's no right or wrong in that, right? There's no ego in that.
Now let's talk about that a little bit. So the coaching program, what really was the catalyst to get you to sign up for that?
A book. So my wife gave me a book months ago, 6-7 months ago. And that book was called Profit First. I forget the author.
Yep. Hold on.
There we go.
Yeah. Mike Mikalowicz. Something like that.
So Profit First.
Yep.
So I started reading that book way after my wife had already asked me to read that book. And in reading it, I was like, man, this is great, but I'm a contractor. So my stuff don't really work like that. And I was like, oh yeah, all this is cool and this is great, but this ain't really applicable to me. But then they have Profit First for contractors.
I got your ass.
So I started reading that book, and that kind of took me down a wormhole. And then I realized they have a coaching program based on that book for contractors. And that really sparked it for me. I was like, I really love this philosophy, and I really want to implement this in my business. And I want something that fits for the type of business I'm in. And I don't want to restring the wheel. There's no reason to go out here and struggle and learn to build something when they have people who can teach you how to do it. So, for me, that's a no-brainer.
Oh, nah, man. Well, I'm excited to hear about that, bro. So when do you start?
It'll probably be the summer. I have my first consultation call end of the month. And then I'll enroll in whatever because they have a couple of different levels and stuff. So.
Okay. So, we've already kind of talked about the different facets of Kevan. He's he can be a humble man. He can be a stubborn man. He can be the coach. He can be the mentee. So, you have all these, complexities to you, but what would you probably say Kevan, the person, is the most misunderstood about yourself? Or do you think you're misunderstood at all?
You got a bunch of questions. I'm probably incredibly misunderstood, but I wouldn't know it because I'm too stubborn to recognize.
I have a bunch of questions about what you didn't finish.
No. I'm saying, like, you got all the great questions. Like, you really hard hitting journalism for the new world. No. What is misunderstood about me? I'm a big softie. I have a real tough exterior. I can be an asshole at times. I can be real hard.
I know the asshole. I don't know the softie. Yeah.
Unmoving. But I'm a big softie. At the end, I want everybody to win. I want everybody to go home. Remind me. I'll tell you a funny story. When we finish this, I don't think this happens this Monday, but at the end of the day, I want everybody to make it home how they came to wherever, right? I just want everybody to be cool, everything to be good. I'm a big softie for that.
Right. So. Right. I don't know how much you remember of our last lunch, but you told me something that really, just kind of a light bulb went off, because I was talking about how, I'm scaling and building a team within my own business. And then you were asking me all these questions about, what is your policies around, vacation and, how do you feel about this? And I was just like, and my response to that was like, I told the candidate, hey, we're all adults here, so I'm not going to be, checking in on that. And he was just, and you told me, you're like, let me stop you right there, bro. You told me, you're like, hey, um, although we're entrepreneurs, we don't want to run our business as a group of entrepreneurs. We need to apply an actual business setting. I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah, for sure.
the premises of it was like, hey, get on your shit and be structured within your business and how you go about your day to day. And it's not some just free, loose type of you know approach to it. And man, that really hit me, is because like, damn, like there's not going to be a bunch of me's in the office, right? And so, and to get everyone together, we really need to be on the same page. And it's just like culture and business structure of your business. Where did all that come from for you? Like, where'd you get all that from?
From working for other businesses. I mean, the reality of the situation is coming from corporate America, while I decided to do my own thing, I did not love what I did, right? So now, did I like how it was applied in some instances? No. But the system that exists can be fit to mold your life, right? Like, think about it like this: entrepreneurship is water, and it'll take the form of whatever container you put it in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your office might look like a circle, my office might look like a square. Well, the people who have to navigate that, they want some type of container, because if not, you everywhere. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I just want to give a nice square for everybody who's in my water.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to be in a mess. I don't want them to not know where the walls are, what we're doing today, because it doesn't give them confidence. It doesn't give them surety and stability. I want somebody who comes to work with me to know, hey, 10 years from now, I'm gonna be able to work with Kevin. 20 years from now, I can build my life on the confidence that being a part of this organization will take me somewhere. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing something that goes somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then all the things that come with that, whether it's the culture or the policies or the plans, the insurance, the life, the whatever. You want people to be able to build their life with you. And I say with, because the reality of the situation in the world we live in now, everybody has choice. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
the only difference between me and you or Johnny down the block who owns a business is, you know, do you like working with Johnny? Do you like working with Kevin? Do you like working with James? Well, how do I make myself stand out? I can make it really good to work with Kevin. You know
Right.
what I mean? And then working with Kevin, we're gonna go somewhere. We got a plan. We're going wherever. And if you believe in that vision and you become a part of it, there's intrinsic benefits to that. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with the organizations that I've had the blessing to be a part of, they were somebody else's dream, but I got to play a role in it. I got to have my own space in it. I got to learn from those entrepreneurs, or, you know, in the bigger businesses, I got to learn from the bigger visions of it, right? And I got to see the impact, because literally everything that we look at, everything that we do, everything that we travel in, it's all somebody's decision. It's somebody's dream. Somebody said,
Right.
hey, from this computer to I'll take this shirt. The reason this shirt looks like this is because I dreamed it to look like this. I wanted this shirt to look like this. You wanted your shirt to look like this. And if you think about that intention and you put that across everything that you've ever experienced, you realize it was somebody else's intention that set that template for you, right?
Right.
So all you're doing is setting the intention and the template for the next round of people. The people who come and work with you in your office, they're going to absorb whatever the container you're providing for them. The people who you're providing services for, they have to believe in whatever that vision is to want to participate in your program. And at
Right.
the end of the day, it's your job to build that ecosystem that reflects your vision and also provides enough value for people to want to work with you, for people who want to buy from you, all those things.
Right. And to put a big ball on this and wrap it up from what like exactly what you told me is because me personally, after grad school, I worked at a few corporate jobs and kind of moved my way up there, but I just didn't like the setting and the structure. And you told me you're like the same stuff that you were running away from because you're an entrepreneur is the same things you're going to have to implement in your business. And the reason because of that is what you just said in a so elegant way was you can't have multiple people going in their own accord. We have to all be on the same accord, same vision, and moving in one direction. And so, no, man, that really hit me because I was just like, oh, we'll be very relaxed here and do that. And it's like you can't do that. Definitely ironing out the policies now and planning to scale here soon. So, man, I definitely appreciate those little nuggets you dropped. Those
No, man,
gems.
look, I'm excited to see you grow. I've seen the growth from the start, and I just that's what I'm really passionate about. I love seeing folks just do it. You know what I mean? Be top of their craft, really grow their business, like the long term effects of that. You know what I mean? My
Mm-hmm.
my CPA always says your time in the market is everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not talking about the stock market, but just in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you're an entrepreneur, the better you get,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's just the time. So the opportunities that come, the things that you've experienced, the skill sets you have, they're all based on the time you have in the market, right? So
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You are not only passionate about, your business in Park Street, but you truly have a genuine passion about like your community for one and your city. And talk about that a little bit, man. Like where is that love, that pride? What's the origins of that? Because I've always seen you with a Park Street or a U of A shirt on to the fullest.
the funny thing is, I pay so much money to U of H. I said I could wear as many clothes of theirs as I want to pay for, because I earned this, and
Talk
honestly,
about it.
for me, graduating from college was 100% like will. It took me 10 years to graduate. I had a baby my sophomore year, and I was a horrible student, but I had a great work ethic. And just to ride that ride took everything I had for a decade. And the only reason I'm out of school now, I'd still probably be struggling in school if I hadn't met my wife.
That's dope. Yeah.
But it was such a life defining journey that I wear those UH shirts with pride,
That's
because
dope.
I know I it took damn near everything. It took everything to walk across that stage. And when I walked across that stage, it meant the world to me. And I told myself probably year 8, I was like, if I ever graduate, I'm never gonna walk across the stage because whatever. Man, I walked across that stage and
Give
I
me
was in
that.
tears. I was in tears. It was everything. And being
Beautiful.
the first one of my parents' children um, to graduate from school at all meant everything. Especially when there were so many people telling me I'd never graduate, telling me I'd never do it. It wasn't going to happen for me. I was going to be just like everybody else. And I had to pay for my school. I had to take my butt to school. I can count on my fingers now I extended family and stuff. I had well wishes, of course, but there was a couple of people that really just put their foot in my butt, like, yo, you got to graduate. My cousin Sterling, my best friend Joseph, they were like, you getting out of school.
Shout out to Sterling and Joseph. Yeah.
And they pushed me to do it. My wife helped just put the bow on top and get me out of that thing. And I've gotten so much benefit from that degree. And the degree is in something that I'm super passionate about,
Right.
construction. So for me, I get to use it. I used it the entire time I was in school. I was representing U of H in like national construction organizations while I was still
Mm,
in undergraduate school. So I'm a
mm.
PM executive representing my company, representing my school, the shining beacon of the school with a 2.0 grade point average
Yeah.
just out of academic probation. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was real life. And, even when I graduated, I took pictures with my daughter on my shoulders. And it was everything because it took a lot. So
So
that's why I do that.
dope, dope. And talking about your daughter, your other two, are you going to be an advocate for them going to
Yes,
it must be a 4 year
gotta
degree?
be,
Why is
gotta
that?
be, because there's so many intrinsic benefits that you don't see till after you get it, right?
Okay.
Like it's not now. It matters what the degree is in too. That matters, but there is something in this world that you get from graduating from school. And it doesn't mean you got to pay $1 billion for a degree. And it doesn't mean you got to go to Ivy League school, but it's the completion of that activity. It's finishing something that you set out to do, and getting the most out of it. So, with my oldest, she wants to be an actress. I said, well, you can get a degree in business and you can minor in acting, because the reality of the situation is you got to learn to run these businesses that you're naturally going to inherit,
Very good
and
point.
but you got to be able to do something with it. And it's a separating factor from the rest of the world, right? Like, being in college is a fraternity, and people don't recognize that. So when you walk in these rooms and you do have that on your shirt, if somebody else can identify with that, a lot of times you get access in the spaces that you otherwise wouldn't have, because of who you're affiliated with. So there's a benefit to that. And especially in my industry, it's been a huge, huge feather in my cap,
Really?
right? I'd say the two biggest things that impacted my career is the school I chose and being married. Even though I didn't have a great marriage for my first one, the identification that I was married and I was responsible, I had a family, I had doors open for me, and people took chances on me because they deemed me responsible from being married. And they deemed me worthy because I went to the school I went to, right? Like, I had at least a base level of knowledge to walk in those doors and have some level of confidence. So it works.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I remember uh, coming out of grad school and um, on interviews, they definitely loved the fact that when I first got out, I was engaged, but we got married very quickly. And a lot of the people I was talking would talk to, they were very much excited and interested in the fact that I'm married. And they later on, I would learn that it was because of the stable, motivated, and all these other different type of factors. So, no, good point. But then backing up, okay, we talked about the love for U of H, but um, I mean, beyond just Park Street and Grand Park Square, you and your wife are very much involved within the city, neighborhood cleanups, the redevelopments. So where does all the love for the city come from? How'd you get there?
Maybe it was just in the water, man. Because I used to. I'll say this: when growing up on the South Side, with you from the South South, but growing up on the South Side,
Shout out to Angleton. Don't ever play us.
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Eggleton, woo. No, but no, there was, in the fall, if you woke up early, there was a coffee plant in East Downtown, and when the air is clear, you could stand in the front yard and you could smell the coffee beans. And I remember that, and I've always felt like Houston was um, so beautiful and the center of opportunity for me. I felt like I always had a place in this city. Like, this was my city. I used to say that when I was like 14. Like, this is my city. I'm gonna do something in the city. There's a building, and I'm still watching this building. It still hasn't. They haven't done anything. It's an old Days Inn uh, hotel, and I wanted to buy that building since I was 12 years old.
Mm,
And I told my uncle, um, like, literally, I want to buy this building. I want to turn it into a hotel. This is gonna be my hotel. I love Monopoly. This is my hotel. Nobody's bought it. It's still there. It's gutted now. It's just sitting there in a
oh, okay.
frame. And on his deathbed several years ago, he said, "You gonna buy that hotel?"
Mm,
And I'm still holding on to that. So I still plan on buying that hotel. I still plan on having a huge impact in the city. This is my market. This is my stumping ground. Ain't nowhere else home. I've had other offers to be other places, but Houston is home. And I
okay.
plan on dominating here continuously for the rest of my life, my natural born life. I'm going to put our names on some walls around this place. At U of H, downtown, we're going to put our names up on some walls and put these dollars to work and really make an impact and growing the next generation in the city.
Dope, dope, dope. No, I love to see it. I love to see it, man. So I guess in the near future, for what does the rest of 2022 look like for you and for Park Street?
Growth. You know, I'm thankful that our book of business, we have everything that we're gonna do this year. So it's really just working the plan. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's not even about 2022. It's 2024 right now for us. It's how do we get better at what we do? Because every level you have breakdowns and you have to get better. So, you know, looking back a year ago, you know, we were starting our journey now in this Grand Park Square development. We're coming to the completion of that. Um,
Congrats
that's
to that. That's
exciting.
awesome. Yeah.
hmm And with every single year comes a new challenge. So now all the systems we put in place last year are breaking down this year. We have to reinforce and readjust and pivot as we go to each level. There'll be something new. I want to get better as a leader. I
Yeah.
want to learn how to make not only our business more efficient, but more impactful to our team. I want to help people build wealth within our organization. I think that's incredibly important to me. So, you know, what I want the legacy to be judged of our organization is not what we did for ourselves, but what we did for the people who were working with us and the investors who contributed to our projects.
No, dope, dope. Plan to get there. And I know within marriage and real estate, what you guys do is that's a group that you and Aisha, and it's a shout out to Marriage and Real Estate Podcast as well, that you guys started. Very big on planning. And um, no, man, that's that's something that I've appreciated and even made me more aware about. And no, man, just shout out to that. But randomly, I wanted to ask you, would you rather be famous or respected?
Respected. I'm not a big fame person.
Okay.
I don't see the value in fame unless it has a direct correlation to monetary gain. I don't see a value in fame, but I do see a value in respect. I
How
think
so?
somebody can, because respect has an impact, right? Somebody you respect can give you a word that might change your life if you
Mm-hmm.
respect them. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Somebody famous can tell me whatever. I like whatever. I have no frame of reference to know that you even know what you're talking about. Somebody I respect, I've viewed at least enough doing what they say they're going to do or whatever the basis of that respect is to take adherence to their words,
But
right?
but wouldn't fame allow access to things that respect may not get you to?
Sure, but it matters what you want to access. Like, what am I trying to access that I need to be famous for?
It may get you in rooms that you may not be able to access just off of respect and within your respective field. I mean, just
I mean, that
being,
may be true.
yeah, like no, the just the notoriety from something may able like, hey, we saw, this write up in the Houston Chronicle. Let's get him down here and have him sit in on a city planning meeting or something like that.
No, no, I'll say this. There is an intrinsic value to that, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to action, right? Like you could
Facts.
be invited to those rooms and not either A, have the skill set to do anything with that information, or B, have the other things that you need to actually. So, like, I don't care as much about being in the rooms if I don't have the tools to actually do anything with it. But
Okay.
I do want somebody to be able to look at me highly in my field and respect me for what I've done. Even if I built one house, but everybody knows like Kevin built a hell of a house, I
Right.
can live with that versus, yeah, man, Kevin, I heard Kevin maybe built some house. He's really famous for building houses, but you have no evidence of the houses that I've built,
Mm.
right? There's no record of it. I'm just famous and known for it, but there's no proof. One of the things that I love is my life can be cataloged, right?
Is it
So
what? Sorry.
my life can be cataloged. So if you
Okay.
go back to people I worked with 20 years ago, like literally at the very start of me working at any job, they can speak highly about me now, right? So we'll run into people who work with me at Best Buy or AMC, and they'll be like, "Oh man, Kevin was so great to work with back in 2004." And I used to be like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "But my life is documented." So I am big on doing what I say I'm going to do because I never want anybody to be able to come back and say I did.
Fair enough. I know. Okay. Okay. Now I wish I don't know if I can go back and get that kind of love from every place that I've been at. But shout out to you for that. Nah, I
I never
definitely
cursed anybody out. I never like you
I
know.
can't say that I haven't done that shit. So
I have not done.
oh no, shout out to you for that. So you talk a lot about I think the book is called, and I still haven't read it yet, but it's called Who Not How.
Mhm.
With a lot of things you got going on, you are still able to accomplish these things and stay on the timeline. So, as an entrepreneur, what is some of your biggest productivity hacks?
Um, I'm trying to think of them in ways that's not like uniquely intrinsic to the way my brain works. So, I
Fire
look at every
shit.
I
Just
look
say
at everything like a cheat, like or almost gamify, right? So like um if I want to get something done, like I'll give you an example with a subcontractor.
mm-hmm.
If I want them to get work done in a certain time, I'm like, man, look, the bank coming, I gotta like whatever. But I'm always going to put it where there's some impending thing coming. Like there's a deadline that even if it's just my internal deadline, and I do it with myself, right? Like I'll set an event as a driver for the activities in my life. Say, hey, we got a party coming on April 1st, and we got to get there. So we got to do everything. Then I'll bust my back to get there. But what it does is it helps push the progress. It pushes the ball forward, right? So if I know that date is looming out there, I don't let it slip because I hold myself accountable to that particular date. Now, sometimes that's to my detriment because I can literally drive myself insane. Like
Right.
we had that big party in December. We had to push, push, push to make it happen. Well, a week after the party, I damn near like had to check into a hotel and just recover because I
Yeah.
physically collapsed because I'm driving the ball so hard. But that's a hack. That's a cheat, right? It's like if you put something out there that you're held accountable to, it's a driver. And my whole life has been a series of drivers, right?
So you would say you probably work best under pressure.
Definitely. But it's not the most organized. So I've had to learn to get myself organized and have people help me because
Yeah.
I'm unorganized. I'm naturally unorganized.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Uh, Switching up a little bit. Uh, because you said, man, since I was what you said, like 12 or 13, you've
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to build houses. That's what you've done. You've kind of come up through the ranks. So I guess it's a two-part. Would you recommend the path that you took to someone else? And the other part to that is what advice is someone getting in the game that's like, damn, like those investors that we were talking about, they're like, damn, I want to get into development. I got to talk to Kevin. Like, what are some what would you recommend to somebody trying to get into the game and do what you do?
I'd say
Mm-hmm.
so. The first question was, would I recommend my path?
Right.
My path was extremely laden with challenge and obstacles, but a lot of learning and a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm.
So for who someone who likes the hard road, sure, because it was a hard road and it's full
Who
of.
the hell likes the hard road?
I mean, people who want to you grow the most on the hard road. It's not the easiest. Are there easier ways to get where I gotten? Sure, right? Like so, the reality situation is, I started off building homes. I went commercial, built commercial for a long time, and went back to building homes. If I if I was to do it over again, and I just wanted to do what I'm doing now, I probably would have started off building homes and just eventually started my own company. But I never would have seen all the things that I need to run my own company if I hadn't taken
Mm,
the path that I took, right?
mm,
Because I was exposed to so much more, running
mm,
organizations for other people, building across the country, being a part of organizations with 35,000 employees and global presence. I wouldn't have seen all that. I would have just been building homes. I would have went from community A to community B, and maybe I would have got a house off, right? Um, the second part of your question is, how would I advise somebody who wants to get in the game? The game is what you make it, and it's what you're passionate about, right? So I always tell people to focus on what you'll do well, like what you actually care about, because it's too hard otherwise, right? Like development is hard. It naturally has challenges, has a bunch of stuff. You can do it, but unless you're starting off with a bunch of money, it's not just an activity on a line item. You really, really got to understand it. You got to care enough about it to walk it all the way through. So the cheat to that, the easy part of that is if you have enough money, or you have some other aspect of a deal, whether it's the land or the financing or whatever, then it can be just an item on a line item, right? And that's an easier path. You can develop stuff, it costs you more, but you don't have to be in the trenches of construction. I've been in boots for the better part of 15 years. So for me, I would be here anyway, so it doesn't hurt me. So when people are like, oh man, the contractors ain't show up and that's driving me insane, I'm like, contractors are contractors. And they be like, how do you so cool about it? Because I've been in this for a long time. I expect it. Right. I expect the shit show from day one, right? Right. So for other folks, it's the bane of their existence, right? Like, oh, such and such ain't show up. It drives me fucking insane. He ain't never on time, blah, blah, blah. Be like, work around it. Figure out a trick.
That's the one damn thing that drove me nuts when I first got into real estate, is just like how fluid and laxed everything is. It's just like, oh, it's a might happen around this time. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But no, I'm sorry, I'm just complaining there. But going back to what you said. Okay, so I am a kid, 18 years old. I've seen you on TV, seen you in the publications, and but no, seriously, I want to do what you do. You're saying, well, either I don't have a lot of money,
or so go to school. Okay. Go to school and work for a builder.
Go to school and work for a builder.
Because that's the easiest way to learn, right? Because there's some part of this you got to actually learn what the fuck you're doing. The day I started on a commercial site, my general superintendent said, "You don't know shit," and he stuck me in a plan room for 3 months so I could learn how to read blueprints.
Damn. Okay.
And I'm talking about a room where the whole room was full of racks of big commercial blueprints. But a lot came out of that. And if I had never stuck my head in that room for 3 months and learned that, a year and a half later, I wouldn't have been able to close out that building by my goddamn self, right? But I had to learn something. I had to learn from the people who were willing to teach me. And a lot of times those were tough lessons. A lot of times it was like, sit out here all day, all night. I used to sleep at the hospital. When I was building at the hospital, I used to sleep there. Like literally, I would be there from sun up to sundown to learn it because I didn't know. Crawl on floors. I remember I crawled on a mechanical floor. We did an epoxy coating project on a whole mechanical floor, but the floor height was 5 feet. So, and there were big pipes. So it was a floor in between floors. So it's only mechanicals on this floor. So it's nothing but big 36-inch pipes. So you got 60 inches of space, 36 inches of pipe. What size you think is in between that? And I got to fit my big ass up and over and under these pipes. And I'm wearing stuff like this. I'm actually wearing slacks, dress shoes, and a nice shirt. And I slithered my ass on that floor all the way to the back corner of the building to learn, to look, to see. Because I didn't know. But now I know.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was responsible to get this thing done. And if you don't put your hands on it, you can't understand it to complete.
True.
Right?
True.
So there's something in the tactile of getting it done, of physically doing it, that you learn. And that's the hard thing about construction. It's very physical. It's you got to know it. You got to put your hands on it. You got to smell the wood. You got to smell the saw cuts. You got to take your ass out there and touch it. And the reality of the situation is sometimes that comes with dirt, grime, struggle, fights, all kind of shit. Like you never know what you're going to expect, but you learn it though. And then once you learn, you get comfortable with it. So, I have a 22-year-old nephew that came to work for us about 4 months ago now. And the most exciting thing, and it's a pain in my ass a lot. But the most exciting thing is watching him get better and better.
Yeah.
Because
somebody did that shit for you. So
exactly. And I told him the other day, I said, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna make your man plan. Right? We're gonna make your budget. a plan for your life, how you can get your own apartment, you can get your own car, you can start to take care of yourself. It's
Damn,
the
I'm gonna bring
main
myself
plan.
over there too. Make me a damn plan too. Shit.
No, you got a plan. You got a plan and a wife and a baby. But just getting there, right?
Right,
Because
right.
for somebody who didn't go to college,
Mm,
right, doesn't really know what he wants to do, all he knows is he's out here. He can have something too, but he has to put his hands on it. He has to care enough about it to do it. He has to get out here and figure it out. And a lot of times that comes with struggle. And I
facts.
and I bust his ass. He's at my job site morning up. Morning, he got to call me every morning at 7:59. Every morning. If he missed a morning at 8:05, I'm calling him.
But you know what? That shit in the moment seems so rough, but when he looks back on that, just the care, he's gonna be so goddamn appreciative of the stuff
But
he's
see, that's
doing.
what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to him at 36, like I am now, going, man, my uncle saved my life. Because he showed me how to make something of this shit that I was wasting into something, and now I can at least support. He could do something completely different with his life. It's the skills, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
the work that my father taught me at 12 and 13 and 14, and mowing yards and doing all the stuff that I hated at the time are all the skills that I use to navigate life now. And that's the difference maker. So
Right.
now the work ain't hard. I'm tired, sure, but we ain't done,
Right. Right.
right?
So, all right, man, we talked a lot about business and how to manage a team and these skills, but let's just talk about you, man. How are you, bro? Like, what's going on with you at the moment? You good?
I'm, I'm living the dream, to be honest. Um, like a life that I couldn't have asked for. Doing a job that I've loved for 16 years. My everyday is varying and it's not the same, but I picked my horse a long time ago and I love this horse. Right. So I'm riding it. I'm having
Yeah.
a fucking blast, to be honest. And I'm tired. It's a lot of work,
You're right.
but I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my job. I love the company. I love the people who work with us. We're having a fucking blast.
Right.
This is a bunch of work, but I'm super excited.
Dope. Dope, dope, dope. Man, that's good to hear, man. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. Also, too, I wanted you to touch on. So, man, I may have been hella excited about developing before listening to this our conversation. And so after this conversation, I'm like, man, development is still a good opportunity. I ain't doing that shit. So what else could I do if I wanted to be involved, and what Park Street's got going on? What's some other things that I could do? I heard you mentioning, you guys are ramping up some projects in the future. So what else you guys got going on?
So, I mean, people can always invest in our projects and participate in that way. They can bring us deals. We do joint ventures. I mean, the biggest thing that you can do is cheerlead, spread the message. So for us, it's, rep the name, Park Street. You see us out there, wish us well. Promote, buy a house. That's a great way. We sell houses for a living. If you need any houses, we got some on the south side. Other areas coming soon. And I
Awesome.
mean, just really, really follow our journey. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, we out here, the news. So
TV. What are the socials? Drop the socials for us real quick. How can people get in touch with you, Kev?
at Park Street Homes everywhere for the company, at Kevan Shelton, KevanShelton, everywhere else.
Okay.
Period.
Okay. Bet.
You can
Bet.
follow me. My life is really easy to track. Look at my LinkedIn. You'll see everywhere I've been.
There you go. There you go. And I mean, I think the last thing that I could really ask you is, man, because you've talked a lot about legacy and the impact you're going to leave. I mean, so when it's all said and done, what do you, Kevan Shelton, want to be remembered for?
How to live a life 100% of your choosing. That's it. I chose this life. I chose construction. I chose the people I've been married to. I chose the kids I wanted to have. I was very intentional. And that
Oh,
was it. How to live a life of intention, for good and for bad.
bet, bet. No, man, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. This is it's always good to chop it up with you. Appreciate your
No,
time. I know you're super busy And so, nah, man, this has been a pleasure. And this has been another episode of Masterminds. So, all right, we're out. Take care.